can take a look at our smear that we made for the direct stain. And if you look closely at this, you can see there's a light film on this slide right here. And what we do with this now is we don't want those cells coming off because we're going to be flooding this slide with our stain solution. So we're going to take this thing right here and just briefly pass it through our flame 1, 2, 3 times, and that is going to cook those cells onto the surface. And it's a little harder to see, but over here on this side, that's where we had the broth culture. So you can see a much smaller amount of cells over there versus this one where I was smearing out that colony from the slant. These are ready to go for our direct stain. This one, for our indirect stain with the nigrosin, we're just going to let it sit here, and the dye is going to dry onto the slide. And we'll see later on that this is going to give us two very different images when we look at even the same culture here. So when we're doing our stain for the direct stain, we're just going to take our methylene blue, and I've got my heat fix smear of cells on the surface of this slide right here. And we're going to take this and basically just apply that methylene blue dye onto the surface of our slide right here, trying to cover where the cells are. With this, we're going to let it sit for 30 to 60 seconds, and that will allow a chance for the blue dye molecule with that charge on it to actually attach to particles on and inside the cell here that are the opposite charge. And that's where we get the name direct stain, because here the dye molecules or the chromophore are directly sticking to the cells here. And that's what's going to provide our contrast to allow us to visualize the cells easier against that bright background that we see with our light microscope. So these dyes should have had a chance to stick to the surface of our cells and also those charged particles. So we'll just take this, we'll just take our slide right here and pour some water. You can also use your sink faucet there, but I'm just pouring it on there to rinse off the dye that was on the surface of the slide right there. And so if you look closely, you can sort of see that there's a little bit of color associated with the smears here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paper towel here and put it down just so you can see the contrast there. So if you look at this, you can see on this side over here, that's where my big smear was. And on this side over here, that's where I used the liquid broth culture, so very different. And what you can do with this is just take your paper towel like that. We also have bibulous paper, but just come in here and pat up and down. Don't wipe, because if you wipe side to side, there's a good chance that you're going to drag or unattach those cells from the slide there, and that's not what we want. We don't want the cells stuck to the paper. We want the cells stuck to our microscope slide. And at this point, if you wanted to, you can also come in here and use your burner to dry off the excess stuff, the excess liquid that is on your slides there.